A ship was rising plank by plank while the leaders of a nation laughed. Each time they passed Prophet Noah, they mocked what they saw. They saw wood being joined. They saw a vessel taking shape. They saw a man obeying a command they did not understand. But Noah knew that the question was no longer whether the warning would come. The question was who would enter the ark before it did. Welcome to the Guided Hour, where every journey carries a story and every story carries guidance. Today, we journey through the story of Prophet Noah, a messenger who continued calling his people toward truth across generations of rejection. Long before the waters rose, there was another kind of danger. It did not arrive suddenly. It did not pour from the sky or burst from the ground. It entered human life gradually, moving quietly through memory, admiration, tradition, and forgetfulness. The Quran names several objects of worship defended by the people of Noah: Wad, Siwa, Yaghuth, Yak, and Nasser. A report from Ibn Abbas preserved in Sahih al-Bukhari explains that these names had once belonged to righteous people. After those people died, memorials were established in places associated with them. They were not necessarily worshipped immediately, but generations passed. Knowledge faded. The reason the memorials had been made was forgotten. Eventually, people began directing worship toward them. This is one of the most serious warnings contained within the beginning of Noah's story. A community does not always abandon truth in one dramatic moment. Sometimes one generation introduces something as a reminder. Another generation treats it as a sacred tradition. A later generation gives it a religious meaning it was never meant to possess. The outward form remains. The original knowledge disappears. Then people defend what they inherited simply because they inherited it. By the time Noah was sent, these objects had become part of the religious identity of his people. Their names were familiar. Their presence was normal. Their defense was connected to belonging, ancestry, social authority, and the influence of powerful families. Into that world came a message that was both simple and revolutionary: worship Allah alone. Noah did not begin by asking for political authority. He did not ask for wealth. He did not offer a complicated philosophy available only to educated people. He called his people back to the foundation beneath every prophetic message. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. The Quran records Noah addressing his people with concern. He warned them of a tremendous day. He told them that he was a clear warner. He invited them to worship Allah, remain conscious of Him, and obey the messengers sent to them. The warning was serious, but the door was open. Noah connected repentance with forgiveness. He called his people toward the one who could forgive them. His invitation was not built only upon fear of punishment. It also carried the possibility of mercy, restored order, rain, gardens, rivers, wealth, children, and a life returned to its proper relationship with its Creator. He directed their attention toward the world around them. He asked them to consider how human beings are created in stages. He pointed them toward the layered heavens, the moon, the sun, the earth, its pathways, and the human journey from the earth and back to it. Look at creation, his message said. Look at yourselves. Look at the order surrounding you. Then ask whether the one who created all of this should be worshipped alone, or whether worship should be directed toward names, objects, and traditions created by human hands. Noah's invitation was not based upon intimidation, entertainment, or social pressure. It asked people to think honestly about what they already knew. They existed. They had not created themselves. The heavens above them were not their work. The ground beneath them was not their invention. The rain, the rivers, growth, death, and the promise of resurrection all pointed beyond the idols they defended. Yet clarity does not guarantee acceptance. A person can understand the words being spoken and still refuse to follow where those words lead. The leaders among Noah's people answered that they saw him as being in clear error. Consider the reversal. The messenger calling toward the Creator was labeled misguided. The people worshipping inherited objects considered themselves the guardians of truth. Noah did not respond by insulting them. He did not imitate their contempt. He calmly rejected their accusation. He explained that there was no error in him. He was a messenger from the Lord of all worlds. He was conveying the messages of his Lord and offering sincere advice. The Quran repeatedly allows us to hear the steadiness of Noah's call. He does not sound confused about his mission. He does not change the message to gain approval. He does not ask permission from the powerful to speak, but he also does not stop caring about the people who reject him. This balance is difficult. Some people remain gentle by hiding the truth. Others speak the truth, but begin to enjoy humiliating those who disagree with them. Noah's example is neither weakness nor cruelty. He was clear, he was patient, he warned, he advised, and he continued. When we think about patience, we often imagine waiting quietly for something to change. Noah's patience was active. He called his people during the night and during the day. When one method did not reach them, he tried another. He spoke publicly, he spoke privately. He announced the message openly. He approached people in more personal ways. He offered warning. He offered hope. He pointed toward forgiveness. He directed them toward creation. He addressed their minds, their consciences, their fears, and their hopes. The message did not change, but the approach moved. This matters for anyone responsible for guiding, teaching, parenting, leading, or advising. Repeating the same sentence more loudly is not always patience. Sometimes patience means finding another faithful way to communicate. A parent may need one conversation with a child at the dinner table and another conversation during a quiet walk. A manager may need to explain a decision to a full team and then listen privately to a worried employee. A teacher may present an idea to an entire class, then sit beside one student who needs a different explanation. The truth remains the truth. Wisdom considers how and when it is delivered. Noah did this across a length of time almost impossible for us to imagine. The Quran states that he remained among his people for 1,000 years minus 50, 950 years. The verse tells us how long he remained among them before the flood seized the wrongdoers. It does not give us permission to invent every event within those centuries. We do not know how his voice sounded in every period, which places he visited, how his daily life was arranged, or how one generation transferred its rejection to the next, but we know enough to feel the weight of the number. A lifetime passed, and Noah continued. Then another lifetime. Children became adults, adults became elders, new families appeared, old leaders disappeared, yet the same call remained: worship Allah alone. Imagine speaking truth while watching the first people who rejected you grow old. Imagine calling their children, then their grandchildren. Imagine every new generation inheriting not only the idols of the previous generation, but also its arguments against you. For many of us, a few weeks without visible results can make us question whether sincere effort has value. A project receives little attention. A student struggles despite repeated teaching. A family member refuses advice. A community initiative grows slowly. A person tries to improve a habit, fails, repents, and tries again. We begin measuring the truth of the work through the speed of its results. Noah's story breaks that measurement. The small number of believers did not make his message less true. The long delay did not mean his effort was wasted. The mockery of the majority did not make the majority correct. Success before Allah is not identical to popularity among people. But the Quran also shows how rejection affected the human environment around Noah. People did not simply decline his invitation and walk away politely. They placed their fingers in their ears. They covered themselves with their garments. They persisted. They behaved with intense arrogance. This is more than disagreement. It is a picture of people refusing even the possibility that they might need to change. A closed ear can be a physical action. It can also describe a habit of the heart. Sometimes we listen only long enough to identify which familiar answer we will use. We hear a reminder about pride and immediately think of someone more arrogant than ourselves. We hear about dishonesty and remember another person's lie. We hear about worship and assume the message is intended for someone less religious. The words reach the ear, but they never reach the place where self-examination begins. Noah's people protected themselves from that examination. The Quran tells us that they followed people whose wealth and children only increased them in loss. The influential members of society possessed visible signs of success. They had wealth, they had families, they had social authority. Their lives may have appeared to confirm that they were correct, but material abundance is not proof of moral truth. A person can become richer while moving further from gratitude. A leader can gain followers while losing integrity. A community can build impressive structures while weakening its relationship with Allah. A family name can become more powerful while the values beneath that name become more corrupt. Noah's people looked toward those who had the most, not necessarily those who knew what was true. The powerful leaders then turned the believers' social position into an argument against Noah. They observed that those following him included people they considered low in status. Their question was not simply, "Is Noah's message true?" Their question became, "Why should we join a group containing people we look down upon?" This exposes one of the oldest barriers to guidance. Pride does not always say, "I know the message is false." Sometimes pride says, "I refuse to stand beside those people." The leaders saw human value through rank, wealth, occupation, and influence. If the people they considered unimportant accepted Noah, then accepting Noah appeared to lower their own position. Noah refused this standard. He did not tell the believers to leave so that wealthier people might feel comfortable. He did not create one gathering for the influential and another hidden gathering for the poor. He did not treat sincere believers as an embarrassment. He explained that he would not drive away those who believed. They would meet their Lord. Their true standing was not decided by the contempt of the elite. This is a powerful test for every community claiming to value faith. Who is welcomed? Who is listened to? Who is quietly treated as less important because of accent, clothing, income, occupation, education, nationality, race, age, disability, or family background? A community can speak beautifully about equality while arranging every meaningful relationship around social status. Noah did not measure the believers by the eyes of arrogant people. He also refused to pretend that he possessed qualities Allah had not given him. He did not claim to control the treasures of Allah. He did not claim independent knowledge of the unseen. He did not claim to be an angel. He did not say that Allah would never give goodness to those whom the leaders despised. This is prophetic honesty. Noah did not exaggerate himself to make the message seem more impressive. He did not build authority upon mystery, performance, or claims of secret power. He was a human messenger delivering revelation. For modern listeners, this protects us from another danger. Sometimes people are drawn toward a teacher, influencer, leader, or religious personality because that person seems to possess access no one else has. The personality becomes larger than the principles being taught. Questions are discouraged. Claims become grander. The leader's image becomes inseparable from the truth. Noah's language points in the opposite direction. He directs attention toward Allah. He admits the boundaries of his knowledge. He does not claim ownership over guidance. He does not promise what he has not been authorized to promise. He remains a servant and messenger. The leaders continued resisting. They argued that Noah was only a human being like them. This objection appears repeatedly in the stories of the prophets. The messenger eats, walks, speaks, and lives among people. Therefore, the rejectors claim he cannot have been chosen by Allah. But the humanity of the messenger is part of the guidance. A human messenger demonstrates that obedience is possible within human life. The people could not dismiss Noah by saying that his responsibilities belonged only to angels. He experienced the passing of time. He experienced rejection. He lived among families, leaders, communities, and generations. He carried the message through the same human world in which they were responsible for making a choice. When they could not defeat his message through argument, some threatened him. The people warned that if he did not stop, he could be stoned. Noah's call had begun with an invitation toward forgiveness. Their response moved from ridicule to social rejection, and from social rejection toward threatened violence. Truth can disturb a corrupt system because it asks questions the system survives by avoiding. Who deserves worship? Who defines human worth? Why do the powerful receive obedience? Why are inherited practices protected from examination? Why are poor believers treated with contempt? Noah's message touched all of these questions because worshipping Allah alone removes ultimate authority from every idol, institution, ancestor, and human ego. Noah continued calling his people, but he did not control their hearts. This distinction is central to understanding his story. A messenger conveys, a messenger advises, a messenger warns, a messenger demonstrates faithfulness. Guidance itself belongs to Allah. This protects the sincere caller from two opposite errors. The first is laziness. I cannot guide hearts, so I have no responsibility to speak or act. The second is control. Because I care about this person, I must pressure, manipulate, or force the person into changing. Noah did not abandon his responsibility. He also did not possess the power to force belief into anyone. He called, they chose, he continued, they remained responsible. 950 years. The number returns because the Quran wants us to understand that Noah's prayer against his people did not come after a brief disagreement. It did not come after one difficult year. It did not come because he lacked patience. Before the final judgment, something decisive occurred. Allah revealed to Noah that no additional people from his nation would believe beyond those who had already believed. Only after that revelation did the mission enter a different stage. This is essential. Noah did not independently decide that another person was beyond guidance. He did not look at the crowd and declare that every future door had closed. The one who knows every heart informed him that no more would believe. Until that moment, Noah continued inviting. After that moment, he was commanded to build. The instruction was direct. Construct the ark under the watch and revelation of Allah. Do not appeal concerning those who had committed wrongdoing. They would be overwhelmed. Noah began building. The Quran does not tell us the ark's exact dimensions. It does not identify the species of wood. It does not describe a modern construction blueprint. It does not tell us precisely where the building took place. Popular stories often fill these spaces with confident measurements, named locations, conversations, and dramatic incidents. This episode will not repeat details that cannot be confirmed. What the Quran gives us is more important than an imagined blueprint. Noah built under divine instruction. The ark consisted of planks and fastenings, and each time leaders from his people passed, they mocked him. The same people who had covered their ears now used their voices to ridicule the visible result of his obedience. Perhaps nothing appears easier to mock than preparation for a reality other people refuse to accept. Someone changes financial habits before a crisis. Someone leaves a profitable but dishonest practice. Someone builds a life around prayer while others organize life entirely around status. Someone refuses to join a harmful trend before its consequences become obvious. Someone protects a child from an environment everyone else has normalized. From the outside, obedience may look unnecessary. Then circumstances change. The preparation that seemed strange becomes the means of survival. Noah answered the mockery with certainty. If they mocked him, a time would come when the reality of the warning would be known. They would learn upon whom a humiliating punishment would descend. He did not need to entertain them. He did not stop building to win every argument. There is a time to explain. There is also a time to continue the work. Many important responsibilities are abandoned because a person becomes consumed with responding to mockery. Every comment receives an answer. Every critic changes the day's priorities. Every misunderstanding becomes an emergency. Noah's example at the ark directs us toward disciplined obedience. The people passed, they laughed. The construction continued. A plank was placed. A fastening was secured. The command of Allah remained more real than the approval of the crowd. If this journey is helping your family connect with the stories of the prophets, take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to the Guided Hour, and share it with someone who may benefit. Your support helps more families discover thoughtful and reliable Islamic storytelling. Now, let us return to the moment when the warning became visible. The Quran describes the arrival of the command through images of water released from above and below. The gates of the sky opened with pouring water. The earth burst with springs. The waters met for a matter already determined. The signal described in Surah Hud and Surah Al-Mu'minun appeared. The Tanur overflowed. Scholars have discussed the precise meaning and location of the Tanur. The Quran does not require us to select an unverified location. What matters within the event is that the appointed sign had arrived. Noah received the command to carry aboard pairs, his family except those against whom the decree had already passed, and those who believed. The Quran then adds a quiet statement with enormous weight. Only a few believed with him. After generations of invitation, the passengers were few. But when the waters came, the number of believers did not determine the strength of the ark. Truth was not weakened by being carried by a minority. The believers entered. Noah instructed them to embark in the name of Allah, trusting him for the vessel's course and its anchorage. The ark moved upon waves described as being like mountains. This is not a peaceful picture of a small boat drifting across calm water. The world surrounding the passengers had become unstable. The sky released water. The earth released water. Familiar ground disappeared. Landmarks that once gave people confidence no longer offered security. The ark moved because Allah had commanded its construction and carried it under his care. The Quran describes the vessel as sailing under divine watch as a reward for the one who had been rejected. The leaders had watched Noah build and considered him foolish. Now the believers were inside the structure built through revelation, while everything the leaders had trusted was being overtaken. Their wealth could not lift them above the water. Their children could not command the sky. Their idols could not answer. Their social rank could not negotiate with the decree. The flood revealed the true size of everything people had treated as powerful. What had seemed enormous became helpless. What had been mocked became the means of rescue. Then the story moves from the fate of a nation to the relationship between a father and his son. Through the waves, Noah saw a son who had remained apart. The Quran does not establish his name, so we will not give him one. Noah called to him with the concern of a father, "Come aboard. Do not remain with those who reject the truth." At this final moment, Noah was still calling. The ark was moving. The waves were rising. Yet the door of invitation was expressed through a father's appeal. His son answered that he would seek protection upon a mountain. The response contains the entire tragedy of misplaced trust. The son could see the water. He understood that danger was present. But he believed he could design his own rescue while rejecting the rescue Allah had provided. He did not deny the existence of the storm. He misunderstood the source of safety. This mistake continues in many forms. A person recognizes that life is fragile but believes wealth can provide complete security. Another recognizes moral consequences but believes reputation can hide them. A leader sees a crisis approaching but assumes authority will create an exception. A person knows death is certain but lives as though planning, medicine, youth, or physical strength can make accountability disappear. Mountains are real, wealth is real, medicine is real, planning is real, skill is real. Islam does not teach people to abandon the practical means available to them. Noah himself built an ark, but no created means operates independently of its creator. The ark did not save because wood possesses divine power. The mountain did not fail because mountains have no strength. The difference was obedience to Allah and dependence upon His mercy. Noah told his son that there would be no protection from the decree of Allah that day except for the one upon whom He showed mercy. Then a wave came between them. His son was among those who drowned. The Quran does not turn this moment into entertainment. It does not invite us to enjoy the punishment of another human being. It leaves us with the painful image of a father calling, a son refusing, and a wave ending the conversation. For parents, this part of the story can be especially difficult. A parent may teach, model, advise, pray, and remain available, yet an adult child still makes destructive choices. A family member may understand what is being said and continue walking in another direction. Love creates responsibility, but it does not create control over another person's heart. Noah was a prophet. His sons still chose differently. This does not reduce Noah's prophetic faithfulness. It reveals the moral responsibility carried by every individual. The same principle appears elsewhere in Noah's household. The Quran presents Noah's wife as an example of someone who lived in the household of a righteous servant but did not believe. Her betrayal was a betrayal of faith and trust, not a claim of sexual misconduct. Her marriage to a prophet did not replace personal belief. Nearness to righteousness is not the same as choosing righteousness. A child can grow up hearing the Quran and still be responsible for whether it enters the heart. A person can live beside someone generous without becoming generous. A student can sit before a wise teacher without practicing wisdom. A family name can carry honor without transferring the character that produced the honor. Every soul answers to Allah. This is not a reason for parents to surrender or stop advising. Noah's final call shows the opposite. He called until the wave separated them. But it is a reason to understand the boundary between faithful love and imagined control. You can open a door. You cannot make another heart walk through it. You can build an ark. You cannot force another person aboard. You can explain where safety lies. You cannot choose on another person's behalf. After the water had carried his son away, Noah called upon his Lord. He understood that Allah had promised rescue for his family, and he asked concerning his son. The response corrected Noah's understanding. His son was not included within the promised family because his conduct was unrighteous. Noah was instructed not to ask about that of which he had no knowledge. This exchange must be handled with humility. Noah was not inventing doctrine or challenging the justice of Allah. He was asking from within grief and from his understanding of the promise. When corrected, he did not argue. He did not insist that his relationship entitled him to an exception. He sought refuge in Allah from asking about what he did not know. He asked for forgiveness and mercy. Here, the story teaches something rare and necessary. A person can be sincere and still need correction. A person can be grieving and still submit. A person can misunderstand something without becoming arrogant. Noah's response to correction was not, "But I am a prophet." It was humility. Knowledge belongs to Allah. Mercy belongs to Allah. Judgment belongs to Allah. Noah returned to the position of a servant. This is one reason he is described in Revelation as a thankful servant. Gratitude is not demonstrated only when life unfolds according to personal desire. The deepest gratitude recognizes the wisdom and authority of Allah even when the servant has experienced a loss beyond easy explanation. For anyone passing through grief, this does not mean that questions are forbidden. Noah asked. It means that questions should remain within humility. There is a difference between asking, "Help me understand," and declaring, "I will accept nothing unless the answer satisfies every expectation I possess." Noah asked, he was corrected, he sought forgiveness. He remained faithful. Around the ark, the water still covered the familiar world, but the storm was not beyond command. The same Lord who released the water commanded the earth to swallow it. The sky was commanded to withhold. The water subsided. The matter was completed. The ark came to rest upon Al-Judi. The Quran names Al-Judi, but it does not turn the story into an archaeological treasure hunt. It does not provide coordinates, construction records, or an instruction to build faith upon later claims of discovery. The spiritual certainty of the story does not depend upon a viral photograph, a disputed formation, or an expedition announcement. The Quran presents the event as a sign. The sign is not hidden only in a piece of ancient wood. It is present in the relationship between warning and consequence, pride and collapse, obedience and rescue, family love and personal responsibility, grief and submission. After the noise of the flood, imagine the stillness. Not an invented stillness filled with fictional dialogue, a stillness created by what the Quran tells us had changed. The rain had stopped. The water had begun to recede. The ark was no longer being carried between waves like mountains. It rested. The people who had spent generations hearing Noah's warning were gone. The believers who had been considered insignificant remained. The world before them was not the world they had left. Survival did not mean returning to the previous routine. It meant beginning again with the knowledge of what had happened. Allah commanded Noah to disembark with peace from him and with blessings upon Noah and communities descending from those aboard. Peace after the storm was not merely the absence of rain, it was a gift. A new stage of responsibility had begun. Many people ask whether the flood covered the entire modern globe or a particular human world and region. Muslim scholars and modern writers have discussed aspects of this question in different ways. The Quran does not provide a modern scientific map, an archaeological date, or a technical geographic description designed to answer every contemporary debate. The script, therefore, does not claim more than the revealed text establishes. There was a real flood. Noah's people who rejected him were overwhelmed. Noah and the believers aboard the ark were saved. His son who refused the ark drowned. The ark rested upon Al-Judi. The Quran's primary purpose in preserving these events is guidance. Sometimes a person can become so focused upon reconstructing an unknown measurement that the known warning is ignored. How long was the ark? We are not told reliably. How many people were aboard? The Quran says few, but does not give an authenticated final number. How many animal species entered? The text describes pairs according to the command, but does not supply a modern biological inventory. How long did the water remain? The Quran does not give us a verified count of days. What was the son's name? The Quran does not name him. These unanswered questions should teach us intellectual discipline. I do not know is not a failure when revelation has remained silent. Inventing a confident answer is the failure. What we do know is more than enough to change how we live. We know that a society can become attached to false worship gradually. We know that religious corruption can hide inside inherited respect. We know that wealth and children can increase a person's confidence without increasing guidance. We know that social leaders can preserve falsehood because their status depends upon it. We know that poor and socially unimportant believers may possess greater honor before Allah than the people looking down upon them. We know that a messenger can spend centuries speaking truth while visible results remain small. We know that mockery does not cancel revelation. We know that preparation and reliance belong together. We know that family relationship does not remove personal responsibility. We know that grief and submission can exist within the same heart. And we know that after a storm, survival brings responsibility. Return for a moment to the beginning of our journey. A ship was rising while a nation laughed. From their perspective, Noah's work looked unreasonable because they had already rejected the warning that explained it. This is often how obedience appears from outside. Prayer can look like an interruption to someone who does not recognize the one being worshipped. Honesty can look like lost profit to someone who measures every decision through money. Modesty can look restrictive to someone who understands freedom only as following desire. Forgiveness can look weak to someone who believes strength means revenge. Refusing corruption can look foolish inside an institution where corruption has become normal. Preparing children with faith can look unnecessary when the surrounding culture insists that moral direction will appear automatically. Noah's Ark teaches that actions receive their true meaning from the command behind them, not from the crowd observing them. He built because Allah instructed him to build. That was enough. But the story is not permission to treat every personal idea as divine guidance. Noah had revelation. We do not label our impulses as revelation. For us, obedience must be grounded in the Quran, the authentic teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, and responsible knowledge, not dreams, rumors, or personal certainty. The modern echo of Noah's construction is not, do something strange and ignore everyone. It is, when the guidance of Allah is clear, do not abandon it because people mock you. There is an important difference. Noah's story also transforms how we think about results. Imagine a report summarizing his mission only through numbers. Years of work, 950. Believers, few. Opposition, widespread. Political acceptance, none recorded. Public approval, absent. By a shallow measurement, someone might call this ineffective. But the Quran does not present Noah as a failure. It presents him as a messenger, a thankful servant, a man who called his people night and day, and one whose prayer was answered. The problem was not that Noah failed to communicate. The people placed their fingers in their ears. The problem was not that he refused to adjust his approach. He called publicly and privately. The problem was not that he demanded money. He repeatedly explained that he sought no payment from them. The problem was not that he drove sincere believers away. He refused to dismiss them. The problem was not that his warning came without patience. He remained for centuries. Human beings still possessed responsibility after every excuse had been removed. This offers comfort to people performing sincere work whose results remain limited. A teacher may not see which sentence a student remembers 20 years later. A parent may not see the return of a child for whom they continue praying. A person serving a neighborhood may never know how many quiet harms were prevented. Someone speaking against injustice may not live to see a policy changed. Someone resisting a harmful family pattern may be planting what later generations will finally understand. Faithfulness does not guarantee that we witness every fruit. It guarantees that the work has meaning before Allah when it is sincere and correct. At the same time, Noah's story is not an excuse for refusing evaluation. He changed his methods. He communicated in multiple ways. He did not confuse stubbornness with patience. We should review our approach, seek knowledge, correct mistakes, and listen carefully. But we must not change truth merely to increase applause. The story also asks us to examine what we have inherited. The people of Noah defended the names associated with their idols. Their leaders urged them not to abandon them. Every generation inherits language, customs, loyalties, stories, and institutions. Some are beneficial, some are neutral, some preserve wisdom, others preserve mistakes. The question is not whether something is old. The question is whether it is true and pleasing to Allah. A practice does not become worship merely because grandparents performed it. A prejudice does not become honorable because it carries a family name. An injustice does not become acceptable because it is woven into an institution. A religious claim does not become authentic because it has been repeated in many videos. Noah called his people to look beyond the weight of inheritance and return to the Creator. This does not require contempt for parents or history. It requires placing every inheritance beneath the authority of truth. The Quran itself teaches believers to pray for parents, maintain family ties, and show excellence. Yet no ancestor is followed in disobedience to Allah. Respect and examination can exist together. Gratitude for one's heritage does not require defending its errors. For young listeners, Noah's story contains another important message. Being surrounded does not always mean being wrong. Standing with only a few people does not automatically mean being right either. Numbers alone prove neither truth nor falsehood. Truth is known through evidence and guidance. The believers with Noah were few, but they followed a messenger supported by revelation. A young person may feel pressure because everyone in a classroom, group chat, team, or social circle appears to agree about something harmful. Everyone is doing it can feel like an argument. It is not an argument. It is a description of a crowd. Crowds can cooperate in kindness. Crowds can also normalize cruelty. Noah's people formed a powerful social majority. They still could not transform an idol into a deity. They could not transform arrogance into wisdom. They could not transform mockery into evidence. They could not vote the flood out of existence. The young believer does not need to become rude or isolated. But the young believer must learn that conscience cannot be rented to a group. Ask what is true. Ask what Allah has permitted. Ask what is just. Ask whether an action would still seem acceptable without the crowd encouraging it. Then choose with courage and humility. For leaders, Noah's story carries a warning about the relationship between influence and accountability. The chiefs among his people were not passive observers. They shaped the resistance of others. They defended the idols. They used class prejudice against the believers. They conspired. Their wealth and children gave them influence, but that influence increased their loss because it was used to lead others away from truth. Leadership multiplies consequences. A parent's habits become part of a child's environment. A manager's dishonesty becomes permission for a team. A religious teacher's exaggeration can become confusion for thousands. A creator's mockery can turn a vulnerable person into public entertainment. A political leader's prejudice can become policy. A wealthy person's preferences can shape an institution. Influence is not merely a privilege, it is exposure before Allah. Noah possessed influence of another kind. He could not force people to believe, but he used every available opportunity to invite, clarify, advise, and warn. One form of leadership asks, "How do I preserve my status?" Another asks, "What responsibility has Allah placed upon me?" The chiefs protected their status. Noah fulfilled his responsibility. The water eventually revealed which form of leadership had value. The image of Noah calling his son remains one of the most human moments in the entire account. It prevents the flood from becoming an abstract story about unnamed nations. Judgment entered a family. A father's love did not disappear because his son rejected the message. Noah called him, the son answered. The mountain stood in the distance as an imagined refuge. Then the wave came between them. Some listeners carry a version of this pain. A loved one has chosen addiction, dishonesty, abuse, abandonment, or disbelief. Conversations repeat. Promises are broken. Hope rises and falls. Noah's story does not provide a simple formula that guarantees another person will change. It provides boundaries for faithful love. Speak truth. Do not pretend danger is safety. Offer the path toward rescue. Use compassion. Continue praying. Do not assist wrongdoing. Do not claim control over guidance. Do not allow another person's choice to destroy your own relationship with Allah. And when knowledge reaches its limit, remain humble. Noah could not carry his son after the son rejected the ark. There are situations in which love must accept that another adult has made a choice. Acceptance does not mean approving the choice. It means recognizing where your responsibility ends and where the other person's accountability begins. This boundary can be painful. It can also protect a grieving person from believing that every decision made by a loved one proves personal failure. Noah was a prophet. His son remained responsible for himself. After the ark rested, Noah's story did not disappear from human memory. The Quran says that Allah preserved his mention among later generations and granted peace upon Noah among all peoples. His story was revealed again to Prophet Muhammad as news of the unseen, that neither he nor his people had independently known in that form. The conclusion of the passage in Surah Hud directs the Prophet Muhammad toward patience, reminding him that the final outcome belongs to those who remain conscious of Allah. This connection matters. The story of Noah was not revealed only to tell people about the distant past. It strengthened another messenger facing rejection. It strengthened believers being mocked. It warned leaders defending inherited falsehood. It reminded families that guidance cannot be inherited automatically. It taught every future caller that a small response does not make a true message untrue. When Prophet Muhammad and the early Muslims heard about Noah, they were hearing that rejection had a history. Mockery had a history. Accusations against human messengers had a history. Class prejudice against believers had a history. Threats against those speaking truth had a history. And divine support had a history. The Quran does not preserve these patterns so that believers become careless or assume every hardship proves they are correct. It preserves them so that truth can be recognized without being measured by the comfort surrounding it. What then remained after the storm? Not the idols, not the laughter of the chiefs, not the imagined protection of the mountain. What remained was the result of faithfulness. A servant had obeyed. A few believers had trusted. An ark built under mockery had carried them. A grieving father had accepted correction. Water had risen and fallen by the command of Allah. A new beginning had opened. The final image of Noah's story should not be only destruction, it should also be disembarkation. The door opens, the believers step from the vessel into a changed world. They carry memory, they carry responsibility, they carry the knowledge that rescue was not an entitlement, it was mercy. Every person who survives a hardship eventually faces a question. What will you do with the life that remains? A patient recovers from illness. A family survives financial loss. A community emerges from conflict. A person is protected from a decision that could have caused lasting harm. Someone repents after years of distance. The danger passes, but guidance requires more than relief. It requires gratitude. Noah was described as a thankful servant. Gratitude after rescue means remembering the one who rescued you. It means refusing to rebuild the same idols in another form. It means using the new beginning with responsibility. It means telling the story honestly to the next generation. It means recognizing that peace after the storm is itself a trust. Perhaps you are currently building something others do not understand, not an ark of wood and not through personal revelation. Perhaps you are rebuilding trust after failure. Perhaps you are establishing prayer in a distracted household. Perhaps you are learning to earn honestly after years of compromise. Perhaps you are protecting your children from a pattern that harmed your own childhood. Perhaps you are studying quietly while others dismiss your goals. Perhaps you are speaking with gentleness to someone who has rejected the same advice many times. Noah's story does not promise that every person will applaud. It does not promise that every loved one will follow. It does not promise that visible results will arrive quickly. It teaches that obedience remains meaningful before results appear. It teaches that patience can speak at night and during the day. It teaches that mercy can warn. It teaches that humility can survive correction. It teaches that the crowd does not control reality. And it teaches that no mountain, status, institution, or possession can provide independence from Allah. The ark was not Noah's monument to himself. It was an act of obedience. That is why the laughter surrounding it could not reduce its value. The people saw planks. Noah followed revelation. The people saw an object to mock. The believers would soon recognize a means of mercy. The difference was not in what stood before their eyes. The difference was in whether they trusted the word of Allah. A ship rose while a nation laughed. Then the sky opened. The ground released its water. The mountain disappeared behind a wave. The ark continued under the care of Allah. And when the storm ended, the message remained. Truth does not become false because few people carry it. Faithfulness does not become failure because results are delayed. And no person who places trust in Allah has placed that trust in something weak. You have been listening to The Guided Hour, where every journey carries a story and every story carries guidance. Until our next journey, may Allah increase us in beneficial knowledge and guide us toward what is true.